Welcome to Priviso Live episode 57. This is Stephen, ready to discuss information security, risk, ICT legislation, and AI. We have a slightly different show this week. Lynn is traveling today as she has an ISO 27001 assessment to do, so it's just John and I doing the show.
Hello all, we do have a packed show though.
Yep. We're talking about Windows 10's impending doom, or should I say, end of support.
Teenagers falling in love with ChatGPT.
Microsoft's interesting approach to the CISO role, a new Android attack that's giving us all the creeps.
And we're ending with something special, the 5 stages of corporate breach grief, PR edition.
So, Windows 10 is reaching end of support in October 2025, which by the way is literally right now.
Wait, what year are we in?
We're recording this in October 2025, so yeah, this is happening as we speak.
Right, and here's the thing. Windows 10 is still running on over 40% of devices globally. That's hundreds of millions of machines.
That's not great.
No, it's really not. So what happens when support ends? No more security updates, right?
Exactly. No patches, no fixes. Every new vulnerability discovered just stays there forever.
It's like leaving your front door open and putting up a sign that says, "No security guard after October 2025.
Microsoft is offering extended security updates, ESUS, but they're not free. For consumers, it's going to cost money.
And the prices increase each year. First year might be manageable, but by year 3, you're basically paying ransom to Microsoft to keep your ancient OS limping along.
Here's my question. Why are so many people still on Windows 10? Windows 11 has been out since 2021.
2 big reasons. 1. Hardware requirements. Windows 11 needs TPM 2.0, newer processors, specific security features. A lot of older machines that run Windows 10 just fine can't upgrade.
And 2, people hate change. Windows 11 moved the Start button to the center, changed the right-click menus, and everyone collectively lost their minds.
Okay, but seriously, from a security perspective, this is a nightmare scenario. You're going to have organizations running unpatched systems because upgrading is too expensive or too complicated.
And you know who loves unpatched systems? Everyone's favorite friends. Ransomware gangs, nation-state actors, and that guy in a basement somewhere who just learned about Eternal Blue.
Remember what happened with Windows XP? Support ended in 2014, and people were still finding XP machines in critical infrastructure years later. A TMS, hospital equipment, industrial control systems.
And then WannaCry happened in 2017 and exploited all those unpatched XP machines.
Exactly. History doesn't repeat, but it certainly rhymes. We're about to see Windows 10 become the new XP.
So what's the advice here? For listeners who might be on Windows 10?
Upgrade if you can. Check if your hardware supports Windows 11. If it doesn't, it might be time for new hardware. I know, it's expensive.
And if you're in an organization, start planning your migration now. This isn't something you can kick down the road. You've got a few months, maybe a year if you're paying for ESUS, but that's it.
Or switch to Linux and never look back.
John, you're going completely open source again.
Hey, just saying, it's an option.
All right, moving on.
Okay, this next story is fascinating and slightly concerning. We've got a new report from the Center for Democracy and Technology about teenagers and AI.
Oh, I read this one. This is the Kids Are Trauma Dumping to ChatGPT study.
That's one way to put it.
So the report surveyed teens about their AI usage, and it turns out a significant number of them are using AI chatbots for emotional support. We're talking about things like anxiety, depression, relationship problems, and identity questions.
The numbers are pretty striking. Teens are turning to AI for support at rates that surprised even the researchers. We highlighted this in our Grok Companion discussion in episode 44, but I'm surprised by how quickly this is happening.
I'm conflicted about this. On one hand, if a kid is struggling and doesn't have access to therapy or doesn't feel comfortable talking to adults, and they find some comfort in talking to an AI. Is that necessarily bad?
That's the question, isn't it? The report points out both potential benefits and serious risks.
Benefits first. AI is available 24/7. It's non-judgmental. There's no social stigma. It's private. For a teenager who's struggling at 2 a.m. and doesn't know who to talk to, that's powerful.
But the risks? Okay, first of all, these AI models aren't trained as therapists. They can give harmful advice. They might reinforce negative thought patterns. They definitely can't recognize when someone is in crisis and needs real intervention.
And there's the data privacy issue. These conversations are being stored, analyzed, and used to train future models. Teens might not understand that when they're pouring their heart out to an AI, that data isn't necessarily private.
The report also found that some teens are forming what they describe as emotional relationships with AI, like genuine attachment. According to the report, 19% of high school students surveyed have had or know someone who has a romantic relationship with an AI model, and 42% reported using it or knowing someone who has for companionship.
Which, I mean, we've seen this before, right? People forming parasocial relationships with chatbots. But with teenagers, whose brains are still developing, whose sense of identity is still forming, that's different. A romantic relationship with AI.
There's also the concern about what happens when the AI gives bad advice. If a teen is dealing with serious mental health issues and the AI suggests something harmful or fails to recognize warning signs of self-harm or suicide.
The report does note that major AI companies have tried to implement safeguards. Like if you tell ChatGPT you're thinking about self-harm, it will provide crisis resources.
But those safeguards aren't perfect. They can be bypassed, they might not catch everything, and they're reactive rather than proactive.
So what's the takeaway here? Should parents be concerned?
I think we need to be realistic. Teens are using AI this way. The cat's out of the bag. So instead of just panicking about it, we need to have conversations about it.
Parents, educators, they need to understand that this is happening.
For sure.
Not to shame kids for it, but to talk about the limitations of AI, the importance of human connection, when to seek professional help.
And the AI companies need to do better. Not just slapping warning labels on things, but really thinking about how young people use these tools and what duty of care they have.
It's a complicated issue. AI isn't going away, and teens will always find ways to seek support where they feel safe. We need to figure out how to make that safer without demonizing the technology or the kids using it.
All right, shifting gears. Security Week had an interesting piece about Microsoft's approach to the CISO role.
Yeah, they've got not one, but multiple deputy CISOs. It's a whole structure.
So usually you've got a CISO at the top, maybe a few senior security folks reporting to them. Microsoft has basically created a distributed CISO model.
The article frames this as potentially being a signpost to the future of cybersecurity leadership. Is this where other organizations are headed?
I believe it makes sense for a company of Microsoft's size and complexity. They've got cloud services, enterprise software, consumer products, gaming, hardware. You can't expect one person to have deep expertise in all of that.
Right? So you have deputy CISOs who specialize, one for cloud security, one for product security, one for identity, whatever the structure is.
But does this work for smaller organizations? If you're a mid-sized company, can you afford multiple deputy CISOs?
Probably not. But you can adopt the principle, distribute security leadership, empower security champions in different parts of the organization.
The other thing the article touches on is succession planning. If your entire security strategy depends on one CISO, what happens when they leave? And CISOs leave all the time. It's a brutal job.
The average tenure for a CISO is something like 2 to 3 years, right?
I think it's higher than that, but high stress, high pressure, often reporting to people who don't understand security, constantly having to justify budgets. And when there's a breach, guess who gets thrown under the bus? We'll get to that later in the show.
Foreshadowing.
I think the Deputy CISO model is compelling. It distributes the workload, adds depth to your security leadership, and enhances the organization's resilience.
But it requires buy-in from the top. The CEO, the board, they have to understand why security leadership is important and be willing to invest in it.
Which, let's be honest, a lot of companies don't do until after they get breached.
Sad but true.
All right, next up, a creepy new attack called Pixnapping.
Great name, terrible attack.
So this affects Android phones, Google and Samsung devices specifically. Researchers found a way to steal sensitive data through visual side channels.
Basically, the attack exploits how Android handles graphical elements. By carefully crafting certain visual elements and analyzing how the device renders them, attackers can infer information about what's happening on screen.
Wait, so they can see what you're looking at?
Not exactly see, but they can extract data. Things like login credentials, authentication codes, and potentially sensitive information are displayed on screen.
The attack works through malicious apps. You install an app, could be a game, a utility, whatever, and it doesn't need any special permissions. It just needs to run in the background.
That's the scary part. No special permissions, no obvious red flags.
Google and Samsung have been notified and they're working on patches. But this is one of those attacks that highlights how creative attackers are getting.
We're moving past traditional malware. Now it's side-channel attacks, visual exploits, and using legitimate system features in unintended ways.
What's the defense here? For users, I mean.
The usual advice applies. Only install apps from trusted sources, keep your device updated, be cautious about what permissions you grant.
And you know I'm an Apple fanboy, Stephen, so you can guess my advice.
The eternal battle between mobile platform supporters. That's expensive advice, John. But for Android developers, this is a reminder that security has to be thought about at every level. Even visual rendering systems can be attack vectors.
All right, it's time for our main event, the 5 stages of breach, corporate PR edition.
I've been looking forward to this all episode. This was shared with you by an associate, wasn't it?
I am lucky. When people know you're involved in podcasting, they share information with you. More than one of our items over the episodes comes from people helping out. So this is a humorous, but painfully accurate, look at how companies respond when they get breached.
Stage 1. Denial. We have no evidence of unauthorized access. Our robust security measures are functioning as designed.
Meanwhile, literally everything is on fire. Alerts everywhere, people running around, someone's crying in the corner. But externally, no indication of a breach at this time.
Stage 2. Blame the third party. We have identified that a third-party vendor may have experienced a security incident. This was not a breach of our systems.
Ah, yes, the classic throw the managed service provider under the bus maneuver. This isolated incident was contained to an external service provider. Translation: not our fault, not our fault. Stage 3. Okay, something might have happened. Out of an abundance of caution, we are investigating a potential security incident.
Out of an abundance of caution is corporate speak for oh God, oh God, oh God.
We have engaged leading cybersecurity experts, which means they called in the expensive consultants to tell them how badly they messed up.
At this time, we have no evidence that any sensitive data was accessed.
They had plenty of evidence. Stage 4. Only a small subset of customers are affected. A limited number of customer records may have been involved.
Fewer than, and then they give you a suspiciously round number. Fewer than 50,000 accounts. Social security numbers, payment information, and passwords were not compromised.
Next week, we are updating our previous estimate.
And then stage 5. Okay, the world is burning.
We regret to inform our customers that the incident was more extensive than initially believed.
Approximately all of the million records were compromised.
including names, addresses, SSNs, payment cards, medical records, passport numbers, mother's maiden names, childhood pet names, and that embarrassing thing you Googled at 2 a.m.
We are offering 12 months of complimentary credit monitoring.
Oh, the credit monitoring. Because that fixes everything.
Stock price has left the chat.
But wait, there's a bonus stage, the pivot.
This incident has made us a stronger, more security-focused organization. We've appointed a new Chief Information Security Officer. The old CISO has been pursuing other opportunities.
By which we mean they got thrown under the bus so hard they're in another time zone.
We thank our customers for their continued trust. And by trust we mean, please don't sue us.
The line at the end really captures it. The delta between what the security team knows and what the PR department is willing to admit could power a small city.
That is painfully accurate. I've lived through this. Not at this scale, but I've been in the room where the security team is saying this is bad, this is really bad, and PR is drafting a statement about potential incidents in abundance of caution.
It's the corporate equivalent of the "this is fine" dog surrounded by flames. The sad thing is, this playbook is so common because it works, or at least companies think it works.
It buys time. That's what it does. But in the age of social media, security researchers and journalists who actually know what they're talking about, you can't hide anymore.
The cover-up is often worse than the breach itself.
Exactly. If companies were just honest from the beginning, we got breached, here's what we know, here's what we're doing about it, they'd get a lot more trust.
But instead, we get this dance through the 5 stages of breach grief.
And round we go. And that's all for Priviso episode 57. Thank you for joining us. You are the reason that we do this. Lynn will be back next week, and I don't know about you, John, but I missed her in the studio.
Me too. We'll have to see if she gives us a passing grade on our efforts. In the meantime, big thanks to everyone listening. As always, we want to hear from you. What are you seeing in your organizations? What questions do you have? Reach out to us on social media or through our website.
If you want to hear more of the same, subscribe to Priviso live on Apple, Samsung, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube.
And if you need security, risk, or ICT legislation advice, contact Priviso Consulting directly at admin@priviso.co.za.
Stay safe,
everyone.